This looks stupid and pointless, and I'm not going to watch it. And also, JK Rowling is basically Girl Hitler, so that's also a reason. Hey look, we did a cold open. I kind of like the original classy opening, but apparently cold opens are what you do to keep people watching on YouTube, and I need the traffic. Look, I don't want to do a fucking Harry Potter episode. I really didn't want to talk about this at all because I didn't plan on watching it. I probably won't unless work demands it. I also freelance for other things, so if there's like coverage being done, I guess I'll look at it to have an opinion on it, but otherwise this is not something that I have any interest in on multiple levels. But there's a trailer, I need something to fill time, so I hope this will be like the last time I have to touch this. Real talk on that front, there are other projects that was going to go up in this space that was similar on that, but this jumped into precedent on that. Also, the press events for Mario Galaxy aren't until next week. I'm actually kind of bummed that I didn't get, like, really any Mario content up on the channel before the movie came out. Anyway, was going to throw some other stuff here that kind of fits in the same realm of this, but now we have to talk about this new fucking Harry Potter thing. So fine, I've been dreading having to fucking talk about this. You can feel my head being all over the place here because I'm working off of a bullet-pointed script here because I was hoping... I have spent the last couple years hoping that this whole thing would fall apart so that I just wouldn't have to deal with it. But I guess now I'm going to have to, so fucking fine. They're doing a new Harry Potter TV show. And many people are happy about this. Many people it feels like in my social circle in particular, many more people are upset. I feel like probably the wider culture either doesn't give a shit or is like, constantly, oh, hey, new Harry Potter thing, guess I'll check that out. In circles I run, people are generally unhappy because JK Rowling is bad. JK Rowling is a terrible fucking human being who will earn a bunch of money off of this and use that money to do terrible fucking shit because she is much less a book author at this point than she is basically the most prominent leader of a hate movement. He uses what money she makes off of the Harry Potter brand, which is a lot, and I guess she's still writing those awful fucking detective novels. Is she still, does she still use the fake pen name? I don't know. She only pops into my purview when she does awful political shit. But she's the leader of an anti-trans, she's basically the public leader of like the anti-trans political hate movement, primarily in the UK, but like globally she's their celebrity face. This is a new thing. This isn't like other bad celebrity stuff where you have like, okay, Sylvester Stallone is still in movies and he's also like a guy with bad politics. Mel Gibson is still in movies, but he's also a guy with bad politics. Whatever, you can see their movies or not. It's not really going to cut into their thing. JK Rowling is a person who was famous for writing books and is rich and is always going to be rich, but has shifted careers from being primarily famous for writing her books to being an author who is now mostly famous for being a political movement leader of what you would have to call a hate movement. Even if you agree with the hate that she has, which if you do, please fuck off of my channel because you're an asshole, she leads a hate movement. She's like David Duke against transgender people. That's who she is. She is a person who leads a movement that is based on hating people because of their identity. Or that's what's going on. And that's why people are mad about this show. Because she has an executive producer credit. She's involved on the creative end of it. Or whatever. I know John Lithgow was like, oh, I almost didn't appear in the show. Okay, but you did. You did, John.
Oh! They drove a dump truck full of money up to my house. I'm not made of stone.
That's what it is. That's why this is controversial. That's the beginning and the end. It's not about the themes of the show. It's not about whether or not there should be a remake of Harry Potter or not. It's because the person who makes Harry Potter is still the main creative force behind this and is going to make a bunch of money off of it is a bad person. It's because the person behind it and is still going to make a bunch of money off of it is a bad person. That's the beginning and end of it. The money that goes into this is going to directly fund bad political stuff. That's the beginning. It's not like some Woody Allen stuff where it's like, oh, he's a bad guy and you have to make a decision about, separating the art from the artist. This is about separating the money from the stuff. This isn't like, well, can you, still laugh at the Naked Gun movies even though knowing that OJ killed 2 people? This is, do you still invest your money with Jeffrey Epstein after he got arrested for the stuff while he was still alive? Now, so some other folks want to still watch the show because of nostalgia. There is that separate the artist from the art thing. In this case, 9 times out of 10, I will go along to a degree with separate the art from the artist. Everyone has a line. I'm not going to say that I don't still watch movies with Sylvester Stallone in them. I still watch a couple Woody Allen movies when they're on because I do like some Woody Allen movies. I know he's a reprehensible person. I still watch Edward Scissorhands. Johnny Depp's an awful guy. We all just watched Sean Penn win an Oscar that people, for the most part, assume, yeah, I liked some of the other guys better. I would have given it to Delroy Lindo, but I don't see a lot of people saying Sean Penn didn't deserve that Oscar. Sean Penn, he hasn't been, convicted of a lot of bad stuff. Sean Penn is well known to not be a great dude. He has the right politics, but he's known to be not a great dude. I watched that last Tron movie, knowing for a fact that Jared Leto's a terrible guy. You can go back a long way. Alfred Hitchcock, not a great guy. Love Alfred Hitchcock movies. We can do this all day. This shit with JK Rowling is fundamentally different because, again, the money. It's where the money is going. You can draw the line where you want, but it's about where the money's going in this case. It's different. It's the direct funding of stuff, in my opinion. But a lot of people do still want to watch the show because they have the Harry Potter nostalgia. And I disagree. I think that that's where the line is for me, but yeah. And I think that there's also some people that will probably want to watch this because she's bad and want to support it because they're bad and they want to show support for that. There's probably now an audience that never cared about this or don't care about it anymore, but want to show support because, yeah, fuck you, you end wokeness, down with this, fuck you, you checkmate libtards or whatever. Oh my god, this is so fucking tiresome. 2014's just never gonna end, huh? And this whole thing, and this is the lowest tier of give a shit about this that you should have, but part of the reason that I just hope that this would all go away, because I never wanted to talk about this, is that this places me in a very awkward position talking about this. It makes me feel awkward and makes me feel tired, because for many people, wrestling with this is genuinely wrestling with something. A very sincere, difficult, internal moral dilemma, because Harry Potter meant a lot to them growing up. It was a big part of their identity. For a huge part of a generation of people, this was maybe the first book that they read. It made them fall in love with reading. They loved the movies. They sorted themselves into their Hogwarts houses. This may have been how they made most of their friends. It followed them into their adult lives. Going to the movies, going to the book premieres, the release parties was a giant part of their whole lives. They might still have wands mounted up on the walls in their houses. The sound of that soundtrack is the soundtrack of their lives, that memorable John Williams score. They remember this. It is burned into their souls the way that the Star Wars score and the Indiana Jones score is burned for my generation. I'm 45 years old, by the way. Solidly, young Gen X or elder millennial, whichever you prefer. I strongly prefer young Gen X. But yeah, there are people for whom this means a lot, and therefore, if they are making the decision or considering the decision to just yank this out of themselves and say, no, she is terrible, still supporting this, supports a hate movement, and I just have to excise that from myself, is like ripping out a part of their soul. And while I understand and empathize with that, I never gave one single shit about Harry Potter. And I never cared. So none of this matters one bit to me. The idea of never watching another Harry Potter thing, never going to the theme parks, never watching this show, never having to hear the music, never, doesn't matter one bit. Like, there is no, oh no, I'll never wear my Gryffindor scarf again. I'll never touch my broom toy again. I will have to put my little wand away. Doesn't matter one bit to me. It has none. I never put myself in hell. I always found this to be just, I was a little too old for it when it came out. It was always just kind of dumb to me, and I just never gave a shit. And that sounds so fake now. Like, it sounds like there are entire, like, you know, webcomics and memes about people who, when a creator of something famously, you know, cherished turns out to be a bad person, of people who get to be smugly like, well, I never liked what they did, and oh, aren't you special? And I'm exactly that guy. And I don't think that it makes me a special, better boy to have never been into Harry Potter. It's just a fact. I never cared. So this is no great loss for me. And I don't even actually really I don't relish bringing it up, because I feel empathy for people who feel that they've lost something. But I've lost nothing here. I don't care. I have empathy, sympathy, whatever, but I don't care. That's another reason why I didn't want to talk about this, because I feel like in the same way that I can't speak to what it is for transgender people to have to deal with, not all transgender people, because they're not a monolith, are not all saying that they want people to, you know, boycott Harry Potter stuff, but those who do have to deal with seeing their friends, colleagues, etc. say, I do care about you, I hear you, but I just really want to watch the Wizard show. And how much that must suck to, you know, hear that I like you, but I like the Wizard show a little more. And how that must feel, and how it must feel like that. I can sympathize with that, but it's not my experience. I also understand conceptually what it is to lose, you know, this, or possibly have to lose this important pop culture part of your identity, but also I never had it. So I would really prefer to just never have to speak about this, but I work in pop culture media. It's going to be surrounding us. They're making the fucking show. You know, they're doing this on HBO Max. They're going to try and make a season of TV out of every book with real kids growing up in real time, which is going to fail. This will eventually slip off track, because as Stranger Things and every other show that's tried to do this with real kids has shown, eventually this goes off the rails. And that's doing that with a show that had Netflix money and rigid production. And they're doing this at HBO Max, Warner Brothers, who was already out of money before they had to take on Paramount debt. And they also have to deal with JK Rowling's erratic bullshit. So, yeah. Incidentally, my prediction of how this goes, you know, because I've said, oh, I hope this fails and blows up. I think there is possibly two hopeful hope among people who would like to see the whole thing implode and teach the bad guys a lesson. I do not think the whole thing, there's too much money and, you know, prestige wrapped up in this for it to fail out right away. Just based on what it is, I think it's very plausible that, very likely, almost guaranteed, that the first episode, first season of this even, will be the highest rated, most watched thing that HBO Max has ever aired. It will be huge, just based on nostalgia and curiosity. It'll be massive. And the coverage of that will be insufferable. The boycotts failed, we won, Rowling will throw herself a fucking ticker tape parade. And it'll probably be a big first season. There will be all kinds of think pieces about how boycotts don't work, what the normal people won, etc., whatever. But this will be, like I said, hugely expensive, very unwieldy. They're working with kids. Kids are hard to work with, especially on a TV schedule. They do not have the gigantic Hollywood machine with very professional filmmakers, very professional producers. They have HBO streaming creators behind this. They do not have the best and brightest behind this. We've already seen what it looks like. We've already seen the behind the scenes. It's eventually going to be a Cheap Jack streaming show that looks like a Cheap Jack streaming show. And eventually that is going to catch up with it. I do not think that the audience for Harry Potter, which is big, and the audience for Harry Potter that gives a shit about every single little thing that was left out of the books is the same size. And the scheduling and the things that happen when you're working with young actors who have to grow up during the show, and you're working with the realities of streaming TV and Rowling's bullshit, all of that will eventually conspire to derail this a couple seasons in, and things will go wrong. I can see them getting to the point where it stops being a story about years of school, right around the time like when the bad guys come back into it, if they get that far without a hitch, and them saying, okay, you know what, Voldemort's back, sprint to the finish and get this done. I mean, who even knows what streaming is going to be? What the reality, who's going to own like, they think that this is going to run for another like, they're going to need almost a decade of TV to do this, if they do it on the schedule they want. Who even knows if Max is going to exist by 2027? Come on. But that's beside the point. I don't really care if this thing does well or not. Who even knows what success is measured by in the streaming world anymore? Just this past week, we found out that Marvel and Disney are doing a season 2 of Wonder Man. Did Wonder Man get a season 2 because the ratings were really good, or because Disney thinks that there's more of a story to tell with that? And does it make a difference? I don't know. The highest rated show, original show on Peacock, 2 seasons running, was Seth MacFarlane's Ted. And they are not doing a 3rd season of that. They are pivoting to an animated spin-off because Ted is just too expensive to make. Ted was the highest rated show on Peacock, and it got some of their best reviews. I love that show. I think that's a great show. And they're just not doing a 3rd season because it's too expensive and it takes too long to make, so they're going to do a cartoon instead. Now, I'm bummed. I love Ted. I think Ted's a great show. If they think 2 seasons are enough and it's better to do a cartoon because it just costs too much to make, that kind of tells you that the model of streaming, as we currently know it, is just kind of fucked. Hey, this is our best show, and it's high rated, and everyone's watching it, but it's just costs too much. What are we doing here? No, but yeah, I'm sure that, Harry Potter over a decade remade. And by the way, Harry Potter as a TV, even conceptually, setting aside JK Rowling, when they made those Fantastic Beasts movies that sucked and blew up and were awful, even I said, if you want to make Harry Potter, if you insist on making more Harry Potter stuff, the thing to do is do a TV show and just send new kids to the wizard school, because, hey, who are the new kids going to the wizard school and who are the new teachers for this, is the automatic, easy thing that more people want to see. And instead, they're remaking the stuff that they already made into movies that everyone who likes this liked, and they're doing it exclusively. I don't care what anyone says in the press, in the interviews, or whatever bullshit. They're doing this because JK Rowling is mad that the kids from the original movies, the actors, Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and everybody, want nothing to do with her in the press because she's a hate monger. And they want to still have careers in a couple years, so they've distanced themselves from her bullshit. So now she wants to have a new Harry Potter and a new Hermione and a new Ron and everybody, so that she wants to erase the Harry Potter and the Hermione and the Ron that everybody liked with new actors, and that's why they're doing it this way. You understand that, right? Like this is what they are sacrificing these new young actors who are going to go through the slaughterhouse of all of the terrible shit that happens to kid actors on Cheap Jack TV productions, because JK Rowling wants to erase the original Harry Potter that everyone liked, which is not going to work. This is not going to replace the movies and not going to replace those performances, because she's mad that they want everyone to know that they're better people than her. That's what this is all about on her end. Because otherwise, they would probably be doing the better idea, which is make a new show with new kids going to the school, and that would be, even if Like, I don't give a shit about Harry Potter, and I know that's the better thing, is to do more stories with new kids going to the wizard school. That would get all of the better press. Ooh, who are these new kids? Who's the new defender of dark magic class whatever? Who's the new teacher? Who did we cast? Who are these new kids? What are their stories? That's more interesting than, oh, here's the kid who's not going to be the next Daniel Radcliffe. Here's the poor girl who is going to be unfavorably compared to Emma Watson. Like, these poor kids, they're screwed. I hope their parents are looking out for them, because the people making the show will not be. JK Rowling's certainly not. Anyway. Okay, might have slipped a little off track there, but for production stuff, we can't know. Maybe it all works out. Who knows? It won't. I don't care. I won't be watching. Here's what is marginally interesting, if also deeply frustrating and annoying to me in the surrounding zeitgeist about all of this. In this discussion about will you watch it, will you not watch it, what are the politics of watching, still consuming Harry Potter stuff, is I hear so many more people getting angry about the prospect of being thought a bad person for still watching Harry Potter stuff than I do the accusation. Does that make sense? I have heard more people, when this comes up, immediately get all up on their feelings, unprompted, with, oh, so I'm a bad person now. So I'm a bad person now if I watch the Harry Potter show, or if I still have my Harry Potter books, or if I still have my DVDs, I'm a bad person. Then I heard anyone, and I've heard a couple people say it, in not so many words, but then I have ever heard anyone say, you're a bad person if you watch Harry Potter. You're a bad person if you still like it. I've never heard anyone say it in those words, and I've very rarely heard anyone say anything that could imply that. There's an immediate defensiveness about this, which generally implies people think that this is being said about them, or they imagine that this is being said about them, which these days generally means that they're listening to podcasts or shitty YouTubers or people on Twitter say that this is being said about them. The people who are angry with this are mainly angry at the concept of JK Rowling for, like, you know, leading a hate movement. It's not really about you watching a movie or still keeping a book around. And even if they are, like, even if someone somewhere out there is thinking about you obliquely, not you personally, but the concept of you, you don't have to care what they think. Even if you should, and I kind of think you should. Like, if there's, like, a thing that you're doing, or like a thing about your personality that could be construed as supporting a hate movement, I kind of think you should at least turn that over in your head, because that's kind of a serious thing. I think you should, like, turn that over in your head and think, okay, but am I? Even if the conclusion you come to is, no, not really, you should at least think on it. Like, the comparison I would make is, let's just say you are, like, a huge, huge fan from way back in the day of, say, Bill Cosby. Like, you thought Bill Cosby was the funniest comedian ever. You had all his albums, you had all his movies, you had all the seasons of The Cosby Show on DVD, and you had like, his books, okay? You had his books, and you were an appreciator not just of his comedy, but of his philosophies, knew about his contributions to Black American culture in his era, and you are capable of separating those things in your mind from the fact that Bill Cosby was also a rapist. Convicted. Proven. In a court. With multiple accusations. And you chose to still appreciate the art that he created, while also acknowledging that he also did those terrible things. I would find that to be in questionable taste, but you do you. However, when other people, like, came to your home to hang out, I would think it would enter most people's mind to take the great big poster for Ghost Dad down off your living room wall. Listen to, read whatever you want, be the fan you want, But if it's like your entire personality and part of your decorating, you should probably think about the message that that sends about you to people around you. And I feel like that is not a controversial position about any other thing. Like, I don't see anyone walking around with Kevin Spacey t-shirts who isn't doing it to be a provocative asshole. Like, this didn't happen with Neil Gaiman. It came out, Neil Gaiman, similar person to JK Rowling and Harry Potter, hugely influential fantasy, science fiction, comic book writer. It came out, was very meaningful to a lot of people. It came out that he had a history of sexual abuse, multiple accusations, and popular culture has kind of dropped Neil Gaiman like a hot potato. That doesn't mean that there aren't people who are still Sandman fans, who are still fans of his work, who still appreciate it, but like people aren't still making a huge deal out of it. But people are weird about this current thing with Harry Potter. And it's not just because this is considered still a divisive issue. It shouldn't be, but people want to make it one. It feels like people don't just want to still watch and experience the Harry Potter stuff and just let it be. Just say, okay, look, I'm still, JK Rowling sucks, and, they can agree or disagree about it, but they just want to be like, watch their Harry Potter stuff and be left alone about it. They want people to tell them that it is still good and proper. They want to still be not just, let alone about it. They want to be celebrated still about it. They want this to be a good thing. And again, I stress that it is, in my opinion, this is different from all those other cases because of the financial and the sheer weight of the financial and political contributions that J.K. Rowling makes to the cause that she does. This isn't just about the creator of Harry Potter being bad. It's about the fact that all of the money, the sheer amount of it that gets spent on Harry Potter is going to directly go to a really negative political cause. That's the beginning. If this was just that J.K. Rowling was an asshole, it would be a whole different thing in my opinion. The fact is that all of the Harry Potter stuff is basically a giant fundraiser for a hate movement is the difference here. But returning to, they don't just want to be told that it's okay, that they want that people who are really defensive and angry about the fact that they're still going to watch Harry Potter stuff, which is different from, I'm probably still going to watch it and just leave it alone. This is not a one-to-one comparison, but there's a famous, not sure if it was a TikTok or a reel or a YouTube short, but it was a short video clip made by the author, Jason Pargin, about a really stupid political comic about a guy trying to order black coffee. And you've seen this comic around about a guy trying to order regular black coffee, and the barista is trying to upsell him on different. You keep saying black coffee. Are you sure you don't want to try mocha? No, black coffee. Do you want to try caramel? No, black coffee. And that it's a stupid comic because that never happens. People who want regular coffee get regular coffee. This is just a perception problem. I'll just show you some of the clips so you get the basic idea. I'm not going to just run the whole clip and just bite his whole short, but you get the idea. The premise of the comic is this perception that you can't get regular coffee anywhere anymore, which is not true. You can get regular coffee everywhere. His point is that people perceive the availability of other options as the removal of the original option. And then he explains it. I'll just show you the parts that cut to the chase of it.
This scenario has never occurred once anywhere in the history of the world. And if you say, well, yeah, but it's just a joke, I'm saying the thing that it's exaggerating has never occurred. But the perception of the world that caused the artist to create this and motivated people to share this millions of times is incredibly important. This is not political. This is a human nature thing. Most people are not satisfied to simply have the option to live their life the way they want. They also want to feel normal. They want to walk around and see that most other people have made the same choice they made. And if over time they see that their own personal preference has become less popular and even worse, is now seen as being basic or unsophisticated, they will perceive the mere existence of those other options as a criticism of them, even if they've never heard anybody voice that criticism. This is why it's so important for some people to imagine the archetype of the angry vegan. Even though, one, I have never run into one of those people in real life, not even once. And two, meat statistically is more popular now than it has ever been in the history of the world. There is basic psychological comfort in knowing that you're conforming to what the world wants and in the reassurance that that world is not going to change. And this is why it doesn't help to simply tell people you can keep doing the thing you were doing. No one's stopping you from drinking your coffee. Because it's not about the coffee. It's the fear that if everybody else stops drinking coffee the way I drink it, then I will become an outcast. And that is scary to someone who suddenly is remembering how they have always treated outcasts.
So that point that Jason Pargin is making in that clip is this idea that people want to be normal, and that when people are made to feel that they are not normal is an attack on their person, I think is similar to what a lot of people, particularly millennials, are kind of going through when they're going through it with this Harry Potter thing, is that Harry Potter was a universal experience of fandom. It wasn't just a fandom, it was a universal fandom for a whole millennial generation, which is part of what I think is what kind of places me outside of it. I was a little too old for it to be a universal thing for me, so it just never connected with me. This was a thing that was universal across the board for a generation of people for whom it was a thing that they were either reading in school or reading with their friends or going to the movies with their friends. You know, everyone could sort themselves into a Hogwarts. You know, are you a Hufflepuff? Are you a Slytherin? Are you a whatever the other two are? Legitimately, I can't recall them. Gryffindor, right, is the other one. This was a thing. Every generation kind of has these things that everyone knows the answer to, everyone can connect with, and Harry Potter was that for a whole generation. So having that become having something that was a universal thing become something that is now non-universal and considered divisive. Like, wait a minute. Harry Potter is transphobic? No, the material isn't. The person behind it is, and it's now tainted by that in the opinions of many people, is something that, like, hits people in the, oh, wait, no, am I out of touch? Am I out of touch? Have I become the old? And that pisses people off. But also, you know, it hits that, what Jason is talking about, people want to be normal, and when they feel like they are no longer part of the in-group, it makes them lash out and feel like it has been taken away from them. The mainstream culture has been stolen from them. This is like, press 1 for English. What do you mean I have to press 1 for English? English is the majority language. I'm not the majority. What are you stealing? I'm losing the country. Now I have to vote for. Like, that's real. That's what that's all about. But more than that, there's a swath of that whole generation for whom Harry Potter didn't just make you the in-group. Harry Potter made you a good person back in the day. This was the fandom that was good to be in. You know, first off, it was literature. It was the first fandom that really clicked in for millennials, especially for millennials. It wasn't a video game, it wasn't a comic, it wasn't a TV show, it was literature, it was a book. If you were into Harry Potter, you were into something that was teaching kids to love books. Also, it was about doing good in school, and your teachers were on board with it, your parents were on board with it. So you got like good boy and good girl points for being into Harry Potter. This was the positive character building fandom to be in. And it was progressive because the right-wing Christian nuts didn't like it because it was about witchcraft. So you were progressive and you were a good boy or girl for being into Harry Potter. Like, this was a real thing. Like, this was the positive thing to be in. It wasn't like being a pop culture junkie who was sitting around on the couch playing video games or watching TV fandom like all the other fandoms. No, it wasn't like Pokemon or Power Rangers or something where it wasn't junk food, this was nutrition for your brain. And the woman behind it was a feminist who'd come up from, being poor and made a bunch of money, so it was an empowerment story. It had all this good stuff behind it. So JK Rowling turning out to be a piece of shit, who's actually has a bunch of regressive politics, that's a big betrayal of all that. And that breaks the brains of a lot of people. Suddenly, this is no longer positive or normal. And that really fries a lot of people's brains. And you've got two choices with that. Either you can be a grown-up about it and accept that things are complicated and that something that you really liked and meant a lot to you at one point has some complications behind it, and you can deal with that like an adult, or you can double down and regress about it. And a lot of people have chosen to double down and regress about it. That happens. And as for what happens with this show, we'll fucking see. I don't know. It hasn't come out yet. I wish I had more of a prediction other than it'll be popular right away at first, and then it'll probably be kind of crappy, so it'll probably fizzle over time gradually, like streaming shows are wont to do. This has been kind of a long record, so I'm kind of losing my voice at this point. I wish I had a more of a summation to end on other than that's the situation as I see it, but that's the situation as I see it. Like I said, I'm probably not going to watch this unless I have to look at some aspect of it to comment on it for work reasons. But I kind of hope that this is the last time I have to bring this up. And for now, that's the last time I plan to bring this up. Trans rights are human rights. I'm Bob, and that's the big picture.